There are so many stories that one could tell about Miss Salomon, but I'm gonna choose the one that has been the most relevant to my life. So we did this massive mural thing, and it was like shopping. You were like shopping. People were shopping in the murals. It was like you had to draw Campbell's soup, and it was like some of it was based on like Andy Warhol and things like that. It's a huge, huge project. And it's not something you could do overnight. I remember Nzimande Nkaniso was literally trying to do it overnight. He did a fantastic job, to be fair, but it was incredibly difficult. And I remember when I was doing that, this was really early on. This was like grade 10. Miss Salomon, ma'am, you took me aside. You were just like, I can't remember what the context was, but I feel like I was in your house when you told me this. But you said this thing, which is like, how do you eat an elephant? In small pieces. The way that I was able to sort of get through that was by doing it just piece by piece, day by day. And eventually the thing that you think won't happen, happens. It was something that we spoke about a lot, like regularly. And there's an aspect to that where it's like, don't procrastinate. Do the things on time, which is one aspect of it. But I think for me, more personally, what it meant was there are all these things that feel very impossible. Getting into medical school, passing medical school, all of the things that I wanted to create in art class that felt so impossible could be done if you just broke it into its pieces and then one bite at a time just did that. And I remember at the time I was also reading a fantasy book where their whole goal was to kill God, essentially, and it starts all very overwhelming, and then there's this moment where like the leader of the group is just like, okay, let's just break it down into its components, like, and suddenly becomes this there's a way in, and once you have a way in, you're able to sort of work out the rest of it. When I was in school with you, Miss Salomon, like, you really helped me understand what that meant. Just try this thing, and then try the other thing, and then just put one foot in front of the other. And for me, it was much less about procrastination and leaving this to the last minute. And it was much more about this feeling that all of these things that were impossible were actually a lot more possible if you just started bit by bit, And it reminds me of, like, I heard this thing the other day that stuck with me, and it reminded me of you, Miss Salomon, immediately, which is we overestimate what we can do in a day, but we underestimate what we can do in a year. But that's what that's one of the things. See, there's so much about you, Miss Salomon. Like, there is the kindness, the way you always told me not to change, even though I was clearly unsociable and unhinged, and at times rude, without even realizing it. And there was the excitement for the work, and the real passion for it, and there was the disdain of garbage. I don't know how else to say it. There was like a disdain for things that were shit, for people that were shit, for rules that were shit, for systems that were shit. And there was a real love for everything that was like genuine and special, and a real acknowledgement of the beauty in the world. And I won't forget that your mother was the only person that bought that painting that I hung up there. You were always a teacher. It felt so natural that that's where you ended up, even though the journey getting there was not straightforward at all. And there were so many lessons that I've learned from you that I've carried with me. And even now, I still make art. I still love it. And part of that is what came from you and the love of it, but in a much more vast way. Like the lessons that I learned from you around navigating life, that I learned through navigating art, is just something I wanted to bring focus to, is that, like, you're an incredible teacher, and the lessons that you taught were so significant to me that I still carry them with me now, even if it's not always conscious, but the seeds of it were planted then. But it's important, and it means something, and I just wanted to thank you for all of that, and to wish you a very happy birthday, Miss Salomon.